Hello, guys. So today we got Danielle Harrison here, and then we have our special guest, Malibu Dallas, with us today as well. You know me, you know Tiffany, you know Amber, and you know Wicked down here in the corner somewhere. So I'm going to open it up to Danielle and let her tell us what she does.
I am the founder of Humanity Against Violence. After going through a traumatic experience myself with my youngest daughter's father and the wonderful unjust court system that we have, it's a big problem, and violence and court corruption, CPS corruption, trafficking. I mean, these are all some extremely serious issues that are getting next to no attention. And we can't fix or change the problem unless we bring attention to it. So we're providing a platform for, survivors and advocates and whatnot to speak out and do what we can to come together to try to force change, since our politicians don't want to help us create it.
I had my brother-in-law on here. He's actually a state senator in Delaware. Absolutely love this guy. I told him, if you ever run for president, I got a whole team and we're coming to the White House. That's what I told him.
Nice.
But
yes,
because me and Larry, right, when me and Larry were talking to him, we're like, go walk your beat. I'm actually going to Delaware to walk the beat with him, because now he's taking a deeper dive into the corruption in his state.
It's terrifying once you start researching it. When I first got into this and I started looking at the numbers and doing the research and asking the questions and really paying attention to what was happening and going around, I never in a million years would have thought that the research was going to lead me to where it did, which is trafficking. I mean, everything that I researched regarding every type of corruption across the board, it every single time led right back to trafficking. And it's like, man, and even then it's one of those things where you're like, really though? Like, why and how? But then you think of it and it's like, how could it not? As big and a massive problem as things of this nature are, with as many children that CPS are removing from the care of parents, regardless of what the circumstances are, in order for it to be done on such a mass scale, the government is the only option. I mean, it's literally the only thing it could possibly be. Who else has that much power and control? How else are they going to be able to get away with all this stuff flying under the radar for decades and nothing to be done about it for decades, unless it has government approval and or government assistance?
I think what gets me the most.
Oh, go ahead, Amber.
I think what gets me the most, and my forte is more of the military families, because I'm a victim of violence from that. What gets me the most is if you actually dive deep enough, they have these policies in place, and they have these like black and white, if you're a domestic violence of a service member or a vet, X, Y, and Z. If you're a domestic violence in the state, X, Y, and Z. And CPS is quote unquote required to follow said policies. And I think what gets me the most is there's no really merit board oversight committee in these states, and there's no oversight committee. And when you look at the interstate compact in itself, which I think in my opinion is the biggest quote unquote trafficking, because it doesn't matter what age you start at this, it's the fact that most of these things have to be brought back to Congress. And to get a congressional review of this stuff, it does take an army of all of us kind of coming together, because we've all experienced this from different aspects. So it's like, for me and for the people that we've all worked with, it's like, please just follow what's in black and white. If a police officer or a nurse is supposed to follow quote unquote policies, and you're looking at a license being removed because they're wrongfully practicing medicine, or a judge who's practicing medicine, which is a federal offense, why can't, we all speak up and say these policies are here? We need a congressional merit board review. We need a remonstrance, because I believe there's probably over 150,000 or more families in this situation. And it's organizations like yours and even Malibu and everybody else. And it's like, we've all been brought to the table for a reason. And I just
We
don't
have
think
to. I
it's
mean, who
fair
else
that
is
if
going to
these
do it?
policies,
I was going to let
and I just
Malibu.
don't think it's fair, because these policies are there. So please follow it.
Well, the policies aren't necessarily the problem. We have plenty of policies in place. The federal government has, alone, much less state governments, and the policies that they put into place, they're not enforced, is what the problem is. They're not enforced. And then we, the people, we hire our politicians to do a job. And they can say this and that and talk, oh, I want this to change. I want that to change. I want to do this policy, enforce that. They can talk all the shit they want. Unless they can back up what they're saying with action, it's not going to do anything, and nothing is going to change. And it's we, the people, that are responsible for keeping them in check. We need to start voting smarter and start paying attention to who is actually doing what and who is just talking about it instead of actually doing what they say they're going to do. And that's on us.
Hold on before Dallas.
I think we just need a merit board.
Hold on. Did you see where CPS came out with their comment about the Georgia congressman? Did y'all read what CPS had to say about that? They told him to stay in politics and stay out of their damn business.
Oh, wow. They ain't going to be saying much for much longer, because we're about to get them all shut down.
Right. All right. I'm going to mute myself. Go ahead, Dallas.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay. All right. In case you guys don't know, my name is Malibu Dallas. Thank you for being so gracious to have me on your show. I got started in advocating for children and educating people a little over 2 years ago here on TikTok. Before then, I was making funny videos. I was doing sketches and all this other kind of stuff on TikTok. And then I made one video on CPS, and then it blew up. It got, it went mega viral. And then everybody, kept on asking questions, and it just took off from there. So 2 years into this, I'm still massively advocating for it. I am a victim of child trafficking myself. Okay. From the age of 7 to the age of 15. I was in CPS care, and every single home I was in, every single group home I was in, I was massively abused, tortured, starved, raped, you name it. I went through it in every single home. So I understand both sides of the fence on this fight. I understand what the children go through. I understand what the parents go through. And quite honestly, as a child, I never went through any kind of physical abuse or anything like that. Before I even got into CPS, it always baffled me when I was younger on why that was. But now I do. Now that I'm an adult, and now that I know the law very, very well, I know the ins and outs of the system, and it makes all sense to me. The biggest thing that makes sense to me is that CPS doesn't give two shits about you or your children. Zero. They care about federal funding, and that's it. So I wrote a book called The Constitutional Protector Against CPS. I'm on my second book right now, so I'm a published author. I'm a speaker. I'm an educator. I'm an advocator. I'm a consultant, and that's what I do. I'm in this for the long haul. God has me here for a reason, so that's who I am.
I think all of us are here for a reason, Dallas. Honestly, right? I mean, it's a calling. You can't. But I don't mean to cut you off. You have to have the heart and the backbone to be an advocate in CPS with child trafficking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you do. It's absolutely heart driven, and God has us all here for a reason. And what's that reason? It's not here. We're not here to have a good time. We're not here to have a party and I look forward to getting up in the morning and seeing all the tortured families and working with children who are massively abused and tortured. And no, I don't look forward to this by any means. every single consultation I do, every single job I go on, it is very, very hard for me because it just drags up memories of my own when I was a kid. And so it takes a lot. It takes a lot of strength to push those aside in order to help the people the way that I do. And God has me here for a reason. I do not wish to quit. I see myself in this for the long haul. And just within a little over 2 years of me doing this, we have, it might not seem like it, but we have gained a lot of progress into exposing the corruption of what everything's do. That's why they want to get rid of TikTok. It's because we're teaching everybody's waking up, and they can't have that, right? So
absolutely, there's actually a lot more to that bill than just TikTok. That if they pass that, they are going to have all sorts of control over all sorts of everything.
yeah, it's the beginning of the end of free speech.
Well,
I do.
Biden just signed a bill. I was just reading it for warrantless searches.
Oh yeah, I saw something about
that's
that
starting in New York.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. I mean, Malibu, here's my thing. I don't think any of us chose this. Like, we all came to this, and we literally, and I can say this, and I know you feel this, and everybody on this channel, some of us tried to walk away from this, or we tried to avoid it, and God kind of was like, no, let's go. And you wake up, and it's like, you wonder why you as a kid or as a person went through all of this, but now it starts to make sense when you find other people that have lived through the experience. And it's like, as I told, I think Larry before and Tiff, we're kind of chosen family because we can literally embrace one another. And I think that's such a unique, special thing when we go and we help these families, because we can see ourselves through their eyes and understand what they've gone through, if that makes sense.
Right. And that's the best advocates typically tend to be the ones that have suffered through the anguish and the torture from the system themselves. If they have the strength and the backbone and the thick skin to do what we're doing, because it does take a tremendous amount of strength and understanding and patience. Because if you don't, I mean, you can let the system destroy you, or you can let the system break you down and build you back up, and then come back, 100 times stronger and expose them for who they really are.
Well, there's just so many different facets to it as well when it comes to things like this. I mean, there's not any just one particular issue that is traumatic and serious and needs addressed. Like, it's so many different things all wrapped into one that's creating the entire issue as a whole.
Well, you know how we fix it? I'll give you one simple solution.
What do you got?
Well, I'll give you, I'll give you 3 simple solutions. 1, we get rid of Title 4E funding through the Social Security Administration. You take out all of the financial incentives. If there's no financial incentives, then there's no way to get that. You eliminate 90% of the corruption.
No,
what is corruption all geared around? Money.
Illegal.
Right? Here's another way. You get rid of all of the policies. You guys were talking about policies earlier. Policies are not law. Policies, nope. Statutes, codes, regulations, ordinances, those are not law. If the people would hire or vote for people who would actually get into office and actually follow the law.
Okay, cool.
Simple solution. And if you're not following the law, then you're fired and you're thrown in jail. Because if you take an oath of office, I don't care if you're a social worker, I don't care if you're a police officer, I don't care if you're a meter maid, I don't care if you're a postal worker, I don't care. If you are a public servant, every single public servant should be taking an oath of office. And if you violate that oath of office, you immediately go to prison.
Absolutely. There shouldn't be any more of this. Let's just give you a slap on the wrist. If you are put into a position of power and you abuse that power, we know what you're capable of. We know what you're going to do. And you should never be afforded that opportunity again. You should never be allowed to hold any kind of office ever again.
And that's a good point, because look, you got all of these police officers, and people always come at me and go, why do you hate lawyers so much? Why do you hate police officers so much? Why do you hate judges so much? I don't hate these people. I hate the corruption. Simple. Right? So if you have police officers who are being thrown on the streets with a gun and a badge, and a lot of them don't even have oath of offices, and they don't even know the law, and yet you're expecting them to uphold the law, and they're violating people's rights, they're violating the law themselves. That's crazy.
Well, there's no consequences. There's no oversight, and there's no consequences for bad behavior.
They get fired. A police officer gets fired for violating somebody's rights. All he's got to do is just go to the next county over and apply for a job with the next police department. That's insane. If you're a public servant and you get fired for violating somebody's rights, you just committed a felony. You should be charged and thrown in prison right off the bat. But to get fired and then go to the next county over and get hired with the next police station,
and that's part of the problem. There's no accountability, right? They want you. You go in front of a judge with the CPS case. This is what the judge is going to say. You were brought here for a reason. It's not my problem. We're going to figure this out. Your kids they're going to stay in foster care, right? But let the CPS worker come to your door. If you don't sign the safety plan, we're going to take your kids into custody and they're going into foster care. Where's the accountability for the threat, the coercion, and the duress? There is none. The bitch will get a promotion because she got a child placed in foster care. And then they call advocates like us. I myself have gotten numerous children out of foster care and into kinship care. They hate me. There's no accountability. I've gone to my district attorney about it. They drive me nuts.
I actually teach people on how to hold these people accountable. A lot of people want the knowledge, but a lot of people won't apply the knowledge. So what I'm always telling people, knowledge is power. You know what's more powerful than that? Applying it.
Well,
so if I teach you how to keep these people accountable for it, and you're not willing to go do the work, if you're not willing to do the legwork, because I can't come over and do it for you, then yeah, the issues are going to keep on persisting.
Exactly.
Teach me, Master. Teach me your ways.
But listen, I'm glad that I'm not the only one, and Spanny and Larry. Well, I'm so glad that we're not the only ones, right? Because I say this all the time. The police, anybody can disarm somebody with a weapon. You cannot disarm a person who has the knowledge. You just can't. You
want to know a way to hold? You want to know? Here's one of the most powerful ways you can hold these people accountable. Because everything revolved around. It does not matter if it's a criminal case. It doesn't matter if it's a civil case. It doesn't matter if it's a court proceeding. Everything revolves around evidence. One of the biggest ways that you can hold these people accountable.
Yes. Listen, even as an advocate,
record everything.
I even forgot to turn my own cameras on, right? Because I got 12 police officers and a CPS worker in my yard. I'm backing them out using the Constitution. So I said, okay, 2.5 hours they tried to get them out. Can you run Miss Wise if she got any warrants? It doesn't matter. If I had a warrant, you're still not getting in my house. Anyway, so you know what I did? I typed up a Freedom of Information Act. I sent it straight to the sheriff. And I said, not only do I want all 12 body cam videos, I want the police report and the 911 call that came to your office to bring your ass to my property. And I got it all.
I do have a question for you, Malibu.
Hold that question.
Whenever you answer that.
Keep that question in your mind real quick. I'm going to show you one thing. This is the most effective way to handle a caseworker on your property, especially if they show up with police officers. And I try to get people to understand this as much as I possibly can. If you answer the door and you do not have your phone in your hand automatically recording the situation, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, right off the bat. Okay, you hold your camera to, you start recording right as you open the door. Caseworker shows up. Simple questions. Are you a state licensed caseworker? No. Do you have a warrant? No. Do you have a court order? No. Do you have an emergency removal order? No. Awesome. You point your camera to the police officer. Officer, I'm going to ask her nicely to get off my property. She has no warrant. She has no court order to even be on my property or speak with my children. Okay? You, Mr. or Mrs. Caseworker, I need you to remove yourself off my property. Oh, you still want to see the children? Okay. Officer, I'm going to ask her one more time to remove herself off my property. And if she doesn't, then this is going to turn into a criminal action because I'm now going to have you criminally trespass her off my property. You see, if CPS shows up to your home with a police officer, the police officer has no legal authority. It's actually against the law for him to interject himself into a civil matter.
Yes.
Now, if that turns into a criminal issue, like what I just showed you, now he has every legal authority to interject himself.
Nice.
And if he doesn't remove her off the property and criminally trespass her as you're instructing, then he's committing a crime as well. And you have that all on camera. Evidence, evidence, evidence.
Genius.
See, I
Well
did
played.
that. I did that,
Hey,
right? I
Tiffany.
asked them, I said, do you have a court order? They said no. I said, you're not coming in my house. Get off my property. They said, we're not going anywhere. I said, oh, you're leaving. Trust me, you're leaving. So you know what I did with their body cam video? I took it to my prosecutor. He said, I clearly heard you ask them if they had a warrant. They said no. I clearly heard you told them to get off your property. They said they weren't going anywhere. He called the sheriff's department and said, don't step on Ms. Wise's property anymore.
Look,
Also,
if I have to ask you more than twice, and at the third time, this is the way it's going to go. I need you to remove yourself off my property, please. And you're staying polite, you're staying professional. Because your decorum, your attitude, and your behavior will be held against you in court. So if you're continuing to stay level and you stay professional and you say, listen, I've asked you twice. This is going to be the third time. If you don't remove yourself off my property, I'm now going to take that as a threat against me, my property, and my family. And I will take action.
also, if you
Now,
have
they can take that any way they want. You just gave them 3 notices to get off your property. And if they continue to refuse, you don't even want to know where I would go with that.
Well, they did, but it doesn't matter. And they call me belligerent. I said, I am belligerent because I've told you get off my goddamn property.
But here's
But
the
go
thing.
ahead.
Here's where you're going wrong. Your attitude will go against you in court. If I'm telling you to stay polite and stay professional, stay level-headed, there's a reason for that. Because now the CPS worker is going to look like they're off hinge. They're going to look unprofessional.
Fine.
They're violating the
won.
law.
I won in court and administratively.
Well, that's good. Fantastic. Congratulations. So, what's your question, sweetie?
If you have cameras on your property,
My
put them up
question.
on a motion
Hold
sensor
on.
so that they automatically, and on a recorder so that they record what they're activated. So, like, somebody walks up to the door, your door chime fucking turns on. Guess what? It's now recording to whatever device you have it set to.
Right. But you're always going to want a backup.
Yep.
Well, that's
You want different angles because that recording of the Ring doorbell sometimes shorts out. Sometimes they don't pick stuff up. They only record for a certain amount of time, and then they
Right.
reboot back into the next frame. You know, there's certain different things. So you always want a backup, right?
Right. It all goes back to your server and your computer or whatever,
Right.
and then onto a backup drive from there.
That would be my other half in the corner over here.
And
What was
that's
your
why I
question?
tell people to get the body cam video because trust and believe I got everything that they said. Well, can't you just get in because she took CBD? Or he said no. Unless they're eating weed in front of the window, there's no exigent circumstances.
Okay, so let me jump in here for a minute. Dallas, I'm
Grab
with
that
you.
chair.
And what you said is exactly right. A DSS worker has less authority than a repossessor. Okay.
CPS has no authority whatsoever. Zero.
But
Zilch without a court order. It is no different. A CPS worker coming to your home on your property, even with a police officer, it's no different than a Walmart employee or somebody from McDonald's or whatever coming to your property saying, "Hey, we need to see your children." You're going to look at them. I would look at them and think, "You're freaking crazy."
Let me make my point. So, if your car is being repossessed, and I show up at your door, and I have to call law enforcement, that is a breach of peace, number one. Number two, if that officer gets involved, he is now acting under the color of law. He cannot get involved in a civil matter. Okay? I know this because I've been in that industry for the last 25 years. So what you're saying is absolutely right. I have a sign outside my house. I live in a state where I'm only asking you one time to leave my property. After that, it is what it is.
Right.
I can actually address that question below too whenever you get a moment, because I have a few apps that I like to use.
But a CPS worker is you're absolutely right, Dallas. They have no more authority than someone working at Walmart.
And they're going to claim, "Oh, it's our policy. We have to see them." Well, great. That's your policy. You work for CPS. I don't have to follow your policy.
The other thing I agree with, and I've been talking to Tiffany about this, yeah, Title IV funding needs to be abolished, okay? But also, while we're looking at Title IV funding, Health and Human Services also needs to be disbanded because they control child support. They control CPS, DSS. They control.
Well, it all needs to go. Child support's illegal and unconstitutional as well.
You're absolutely right.
And I'm working on that in Virginia. I'm working on it.
It is all driven by incentive dollars, which at the end of the day, we're paying out of our Social Security for these people to take and traffic our children, or for the fathers and mothers that are paying child support, they're making money off of that too. With no type of training, no type of insight, oversight, or anything. So
if the money coming from federal programs such as Social Security and Title IV, Title V, Title IV-E funding and Title V-D funding, if the state is making any money on any of these, they automatically become illegal and unconstitutional, because if the state's making money on child support, if the state's making money on removing your children, it's automatically unconstitutional. It's illegal.
Well, former President Trump, at the beginning of the pandemic, started a full-scale investigation into this, and he was silenced. That investigation was swept under the rug, and nothing ever came of it. So,
hold on, Larry. Dallas, I've been working with Tori. She's getting on. We cannot, for the life of us, get rid of this CPO on her. We have tried everything. We've tried the federal courts, everything. We got to get rid of this child protective order that CPS put on her. And every time she petitions the courts, case closed now. I said, tell the judge to have them removed. They're no longer part of the case. The judge told her they're the ones that filed. How do we get rid of a CPO? Because I'm telling you, I'm lost. And I've been doing this 35 years.
Is there a recent court order? Is there a recent ruling from a judge?
Tori, if you can comment on that, since you said you found out how to use the chat. And by the way, everybody, this is Clarissa.
Here's the thing: is if you're still in court, and this goes for any case, if you're still in court and the judge has made a fresh ruling or a judgment, you could take that judgment and you could appeal it on a state or a federal level, Supreme Court appeals level. You can take it straight out of district court Even if a judge tells you, no, you can't appeal this, and if a judge ever tells you that, the judge just violated his oath of office, because it's a matter of right to appeal any decision a judge ever makes, right? So if you got a fresh order, you can take that and go straight to appellate court. Now, if you have a lawyer on your case and your lawyer says, yes, I will help you appeal this, especially if it's a court appointed attorney, you're going to want to call bullshit right away. And here's why. Because your attorney's going to say, okay, we're going to appeal this for you. But what they're really doing is they're going to take your appeal, they're going to shove it into district court appeal. It's most likely going to go in front of the same judge or one of the judge's friends. And that's not really an appeal. What the actual appeal is you take your case, you go to state's appellate court, which is overseen by 3 different judges in a completely different building from where you're actually going to court. And that's what a real appeal looks like. If it fails in a state's appellate court, you can then take it to Supreme Appellate Court. And then while you're doing that, while you're in the midst of doing that, you also file a motion of stay, right, with the district court. So, and then when that gets approved, the district court judges, the prosecutor, CPS, there can be like 0 actions taken on your case until state's appellate court or the Supreme Appellate Court actually oversees and makes a decision on your case.
All right, so we'll be working on that. Okay, I'm going to mute myself again. Go ahead, guys.
So I got 2 things. One, and this goes back to Danielle, domestic violence survivors, especially military MPOs. If federal laws apply, when you go into a state court and you have a military no contact order and you take that in front of a judge, because a protection order is a protection order, it states on them that they are supposed to be honored full-fledged and give full credit. What is your suggestion with cases that come in front of CPS? When you have a protection order, let's say in the state of New Mexico, and now it's in New York, and those judges in New York aren't honoring your protection order, they're just basically dismissing them. And I can say this because a lot of domestic violence victims and children go through this, especially military families who have military protection orders, which are actually federal, which supersedes state. What is your suggestion to these families that these lower courts are not honoring protection orders? CPS then steps in, takes the kids and gives them to their convicted abusers that they have protection orders against. Like, how would you correct those issues? That's one.
It happens all the time. Unfortunately, it happens a lot.
For Kenneth, some of the recording things, and this is personal preference, but there's a massive difference between Android and iPhone for recording devices. One of my favorites is Cube ACR for Android.
Yes, I know
and
that.
I don't know what the iPhone is, but I always tell people to make sure that you look at your laws. But again, federal trumps state. And the biggest issue I've seen in these CPS cases is these state judges going, I don't follow the Constitution. I don't follow the Supremacy Clause. These families pull their bonds, their oaths of office, and it's like a never-ending battle. So, like, I'm coming to you because I work with domestic violence and military mostly, and I think what gets me the most is the families that have these protection orders, and these family courts are then putting suspended prisons sentences because they're not showing up, so they're getting held in contempt of court. CPS is getting involved, but the military
I've
has
heard
no
some
contact
horror
orders.
stories. I have a girl actually that I've been working with trying to advocate for, that she went into a like some kind of like program to where she was hidden and removed. They
a safe house.
Yeah, they moved from Wisconsin to Florida, and then like 6 years later, the guy that they had a restraining order against that was abusing her and the children, he had moved to Missouri or Minnesota. They had both ended up moving to Minnesota before they even moved. So Wisconsin should have been completely removed from the situation. None of the parties resided in Wisconsin. But Dad goes ahead and goes from Minnesota to Wisconsin and says, hey, we had a court order here a long time ago that I was supposed to be able to have visitation with my children, and I don't know where they are. I can't find them anywhere. So they put out an arrest warrant and have this woman transported from Florida back
Get out of
up.
there.
And she has been in jail. They have forced her to spend quite a bit of time in jail on multiple different occasions. And, and that's a big problem. You ask me, what do I do? Well, your guess is as good as mine. They unfortunately.
Well, I think what gets me is there's this federal code. It's 18.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Amber, hold on.
18
We got,
USC 2261.
okay.
They don't follow the law. Are they supposed to do that? No. But aside from, like Malibu was saying, aside from an appeal, there's really not much other option that you have except to deal with their horse shit.
So here's one of the things that I heard you say. I heard everything you said. However, you said when you go to these courts, you're like, oh, I don't follow the Constitution, blah, 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 right? It's one of the things you said, right? So
correct.
Anytime you walk into a courthouse, and I'm going to tell you this right off the bat, you don't need them to actually tell you that they don't operate under the Constitution. You can see it when you walk into the courthouse. Every single freaking one of these district court courthouses and these judges, if you walk into the court and you see an American flag with a gold fringe around it, what does that tell you what that is? It tells you that courthouse is a product of a corporation.
Really?
It's a corporation.
I didn't know that.
It's corporate law.
Admiralty.
It's admiralty law. It's corporate law, commerce. Everything revolves around money. Now, why is that in there? Why it symbolizes, especially behind the judge, you see the flag with a gold fringe around it and the big, great state symbol, right? That's telling you that he's operating under admiralty law. You don't actually have to ask him. You can ask him if you want it on the record that says, hey, Your Honor, are we operating under common law or is this admiralty law? Now, the judge is not going to answer you that because he doesn't want that on the record. But the simple fact that he has a flag behind him, with the gold fringe around it tells you he's operating under admiralty law, commerce. It's all revolved around money. So how do you get around this? If you want to take your case out of district court that's not operating on common law, that's not operating under constitutional law, you take that out under the last judge's decision, and you tell them right in court, this will be appealed in court, in a higher court, right? You then take it to state's appellate court. You then take it to Supreme Appellate Court. Because you're not going to get the judge is operating under admiralty law. He's operating under statutes, codes, and policies. Now, one of the biggest reasons why I mention policies in some of my videos is because one of the biggest ways that you can defeat CPS is with their own policies and procedures, because they never freaking follow them. It's the same thing with the court system. You go into court in a district court. You don't go in there and say, this is a violation of my constitutional rights, blah, blah, blah. No, that's going to get you nowhere. He doesn't care about your constitutional rights. He cares about policies, procedures, statutes. So if you write up some declarations, if you start up writing up some affidavits and you start presenting your paperwork and you start, presenting yourself legally in the form of statutes, policies, civil procedure, codes, state family code, you start yelling that out to them, and then now they're going to start listening. Because that's what he's taken his oath of office to. If everybody thinks that the judge's oath of office is to the Constitution, it's not. In district court, their oath of office, even though it looks like it's to the Constitution, it's actually to an administrative process for admiralty law.
Okay, I'm going to get back to the point because Tori was the question that we had with the dismissal order for her motion to dissolve the CPO from June 2021. Apparently, they can't get that disorder or that dismissal order to go away, or the CPO. Sorry, I need more coffee.
No, I'm bad with acronyms. What's a CPO?
Child
It's a child
It's like a
protective
protection order.
order.
Oh, okay. It's the same thing. Okay. So dismissal
And
order for my motion
wait a
to
minute.
dissolve.
A CPO. They put the CPO in place until 2038 when the child turns 18.
But it was issued in 2021.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, we've tried everything. Everything. Nobody will remove it. And the woman hasn't even been charged with anything.
What was she accused of? What are they trying to
What
say
are the
the
allegations?
grounds are?
Oh, are y'all ready for this? The allegation is she's the same age as my daughter, which my daughter's 34. Her husband or boyfriend, the father of the child, is my age. He's 54. They didn't like it. They tried to split them up. She said no. So they took her daughter, and instead of doing a 72-hour dependency hearing here in Virginia, they automatically transferred custody when they got to court. Didn't tell anybody until the judge said, what's going on? She said, CPS stood up and said, well, we already transferred custody to the grandmother. So now Tori's here with me in
It
Virginia.
doesn't matter if they did something illegal, if they violated what's called civil procedure, if they violated that, then whatever they violated in order to do the action becomes void.
I understand this, but we're dealing with, at one, a Commonwealth state. Two, we don't get to pick our judges. They are selected by our legislative body. And of course, they're not listening. So these judges here in Virginia all need to be removed or retrained. But that's not the point. The point is, not even a lawyer can get this removed. And there's only one lawyer in this whole state that travels that I trust with everything because he hates CPS. He can't even get it removed. So I'm at a loss. I don't know what else to do.
I would have to take a look at the actual CPO. I would have to take a look at the actual order.
I'll have her send it to you.
Because there's a lot of indicators in an actual order from the court or a judge that gives you. A lot of people don't understand this. When you get a court order, say like I get a court order, right? And inside of this court order, now this obviously is not a court order, but you get a court order, and inside of that court order, it's going to start talking about mumbo jumbo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then it's going to give you codes. It's actually going to give you a code. The family statute, blah, blah, blah. If you click on that, if you research that code, you're going to be shocked on what you read, because a lot of the times these court systems will give you the answer to your solution or the answer to your problem just by simply reading that code. And then you can drop a rebuttal out of that. But the thing is people are not willing to do the legwork. It's amazing to me on how many people out there just are not willing to just sit down and do a little bit of legwork and study and gather a little knowledge in order to save your family.
Well, she's pretty good. She does her legwork. That's why I'm continuing to work with her. But another reason why I want to take a look at that order is because depending on how the judge signed it, depending on what's in it, depending on how it was filed, it can tell you a lot. Mm-hmm.
And then Kenneth has a question. My question is, how can a judge place a no contact order and not have papers served? He was never served with those papers.
It's a violation of court procedure. It's a violation of civil procedure. It's a violation of federal civil procedure. You cannot execute a warrant or a court order without having proper service. Can't do it because it's a violation of due process. Everybody's due process.
I also
Okay.
tell people that if you're just like you did, I saw your video where you said this is not a court order, this is a court order, right? Because they will trick you and they will lie to you. I had a judge look me in my face holding up an order that was not a court order, and he said, "Miss Wise, you tell me this ain't a court order?" I said, "That's exactly what I'm telling you." And he rolled it because
It's not from the court. It's not from the court. It's from the judge. There's a difference between the judge and the court. The judge is not the court. The court is not the judge. The judge is the administrator.
Do you have any tissue?
He or she is not the court. If a judge makes a court order and all he's doing is signing it with his name and his presiding judge, or sometimes it's actual name or whatever it means, that's not a court order. It's not from the court. It has no legal or lawful authority behind it.
Isn't there like a special seal or something that they have?
In order for it to be a legitimate order from the court, not from the judge, from the freaking court, because that's where all the legal and lawful authority comes from. It comes from the court, not the judge. In order for that to be legal and lawful, it has to have the judge's signature. It has to have the judge's name, has to have the judge's jurisdiction and title. And then it has to be stamped and sealed by the actual court. Then it has to be stamped, sealed, and signed by the clerk of court. That is the proper legal and lawful way to actually issue a warrant, court order, or anything else. If it doesn't have those things, it has no legal or lawful authority behind it. You can take that to the Supreme Court, appeals court, and I guarantee you're probably going to win every single time.
So how much experience do you have with my pain in the ass state? I mean, West Virginia.
I have clients all over this country. I have clients in Canada.
Yeah, my biggest problem state is West Virginia because there's one judge there that doesn't care what he does and stuff.
There's no such thing as a district court judge that's not corrupt and who doesn't care what they do.
Yeah, he's taking children left and right for no reason. Like literally, a lot of these parents are just really good parents that just they don't have a big income.
98% of all these cases in CPS are done on fraudulent, falsified documentation reports. It's all based around money. They go after families and society in communities that are low income on purpose, because they know that the low income places are most likely not going to be educated enough, which is sad. It's most likely going to be demographic where they can't afford to have a lawyer. And even if you did hire a lawyer, it's going to be a waste of your time. It's going to be a waste of your money because those lawyers they all work for the court. They don't work for you. They're all going to stab you in the back.
He has people that's related to him sitting on the jury. He has people that's related to him or really good friends as guardian ad litems or lawyers. Again,
guardian ad litems are just as corrupt as CPS workers and judges and lawyers.
I'm about to take my guardian ad litem to the cleaners. I'm suing the hell out of that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Spanny, I just want you to know the childwelfare.gov just put out a report on West Virginia. And West Virginia and the whole nation is the absolute worst for taking children. They've all across America, have been targeted because they are taking more children at a higher rate than any other state in the United States. I'll send it to you.
How long have I been saying that? How many years have I been saying that?
I've known you for 4, 5, 6 years. You've been saying it the whole time. And I get it. I know. I already know.
I'm in Alaska, but most of my clients are where?
You want to know a good way to protect your kids?
Don't put them in school.
Stop contracting with the state.
Absolutely.
What do I mean by that? It means stop taking your children to public school.
You know,
When you
I've been debating on that.
you either go to a private school that's not state funded and does not receive state funds or federal funds whatsoever. And it's a private, legitimate private school, or you homeschool your children. Because every time you contract with the state, you're telling the state that you give them third-party parental consent over your children, and you are giving them the authority to just come in and just take your children.
Oh, that was another thing I wanted to ask you. I don't know. Me and Spanny were having a bad week. First, it was me. I have a mom in the hospital. She's on, I think it was Suboxone. I told her, you know, I got her on the phone, or she called me, whatever. I said, repeat after me. She repeated after me. CPS got so mad. I heard this bitch say, I'm taking your kid. Now, this is a newborn baby. I said, don't worry. I have your baby back in kinship care by Monday, and I did. The same night that happened to me, Spanny calls me. Tiffany, they snatched one of the babies out of the hospital. I said, oh my God, I'm having the same issue. I hate when kids are being taken out of school, and I hate when people are trapped at the hospital because you have nowhere to go. The hospital's not going to let you leave. They put police at her door, so she couldn't leave with her baby. And of course, you know, they got the little monitors, like the clips that they put on clothes on babies' feet. So you can't leave because the whole hospital is shut down. Thank God it's only happened twice. Go ahead.
There's going to be people that understand this. There's going to be people that agree with it, and then there's going to be people that don't understand it, and they're going to call bullshit on it and or whatnot. But that's their choice. But what I'm about to tell you is absolutely 100% true in fact. Ready? There is no law in any state whatsoever that says you have to register your child for a birth certificate or a social security number. When you do so, you are setting your child up for automatic financial slavery and servitude to the state. The birth certificate is what they come in when you're all hopped up on drugs under duress. They said, hey, sign this. And what they're not telling you is that that's actually an actual contract between you and the state, and it's an agreement saying that you give the state third-party parental consent over your child at any given time, from the time that they're born to the time before they reach 18. They can come in and remove your children or have parental consent and make decisions over your child. There is no law that says you have to issue your child a birth certificate or a social security number. And when you do so, and your child and yourself are still in the hospital, you just gave the hospital permission to remove your child if they seem fit. But what they're not telling you is that it's all voluntary. What they're not telling you is that they're violating your rights. They're coercing you. They're extorting you. They're threatening you. And because of that, you can rescind your signature off of any contract under those conditions.
So how do you go about doing that?
Well, what you do is you take full control over your birth certificate, over your children's birth certificates. And then what you do is you take those and you put them into a revocable living trust. You take full ownership over it. You put it, you don't have, you're not resuming control and ownership over the birth certificates. What you do is when you put them into a family revocable trust, the trust now is owning that item of value. You're just in control of it. The government can't touch anything. So if I put my house, if I put my identity, if I put my social security number and my birth certificate and my cars and my house and my boats and anything of value into a revocable living trust, then I don't technically own anything. I just control it. So the government can't come in and just take it or repossess it or steal it or whatever. Right? So I've authenticated my birth certificate on a state and federal level. I've basically told the government that this is mine. Why? Because when that birth certificate's issued to you, the government will issue a $1 million bond to that birth certificate. Why do you think the birth certificate is printed on bond paper? Because it's a security. It has a value. They take that and they trade it on the stock market with thousands and thousands and thousands of corporations worldwide. And it matures over time as you get older, and as you use your social security number, it gets more valuable as you get older. I just turned 46 yesterday. My bond, my birth certificate, is worth almost $600 million. Now, if I've authenticated that, and the state has sent that back to me, it's been authenticated. It's basically saying that here's your authenticated bond worth $600 million.
That's so crazy. I could pick your brain for hours.
So you want to take control of your family? You want to take control of your destiny? You want to eliminate CPS out of your life? Stop contracting with the state. There is no law in any state that says you have to register your vehicle with the state. There is no law that says you actually have to have a driver's license when you're driving your private automobile. Look, you guys are going to shit your face off. Look, Title 18 U.S. Code, subsection 31, definitions. If you look at the definition of motor vehicle, police officer pulls you over and says you're operating a motor vehicle without a driver's license. I don't need a driver's license to operate a motor vehicle. Why? I'm driving in my private capacity. Now, most people can go, you're just one of these sovereign citizen bullshit freaking people. No, sovereign citizen is an oxymoron. You cannot be sovereign and you cannot be a citizen at the same time. Look up the definitions. Motor vehicle. The term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other conveyance or contrivance propelled by drawn or mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways in the transportation of passengers and property or cargo. What's the definition of commercial purposes? Commercial purposes, the term used for commercial purposes, means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, or rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with a business or other undertaking, indeed for a profit. I'm not operating my vehicle in commerce. There is no law in any state that can make you have a driver's license or register your vehicle. Why? Because most people are just going to the store in their own private property. It is it's completely voluntary to contract with the state.
It's funny you say that because I own a business out of my home, right? And I don't know how many times that the zoning guys come here. So
Zoning, codes, policies, not law.
I know, I get it. I pulled up the Virginia Constitution. I said, look here, dude. You see this right here? I'm the property owner. I'm in complete control. I don't have to get a business license to do business on my property. But if you want my property, I'll sell these 400,000. You can tell me how I can do stuff on this property. But until then, don't come back.
Even on my driver's license, guys. Even on my driver's license, okay? And most of you probably on your driver's license, you actually have your physical home address, right? Right?
Yeah.
On my driver's license, I don't have my physical address. It says rural-free, non-domestic, Texas, and then my zip code is 00000.
Fancy.
Why? Because I will not be told that I have to stay in one location. If I move, for most of you guys, you're going to be told by a police officer, if you move, you're going to have to update your address within 3 months. No, my address, my jurisdiction is the entire state of Texas. I don't have to change my address. Why? Because I'm contracting with the state at that point. I'm telling you that where I'm going to live, what my jurisdiction is, but no, I'll go anywhere that I damn well please.
I had a dude here in Virginia that did that, and he signed his name. He said, under UCC duress, whatever, right? They said, we are not issuing you anything. And he walked out. And he too had his birth certificate done the same way you did. He brought it right to.
So it's all, see, knowledge is power, guys, and you gotta execute that knowledge. If you want to be truly free, stop contracting with the state. If you want to be free and protect your children from CPS, child trafficking, state programs that are corrupt as shit, stop contracting with the state.
I just recently started diving into all that type sorts of stuff, and I find it very curious, and am looking forward to learning more. That's for sure. It's just, I mean, seeing everything that they get away with, and I mean, we the people have to start standing up, and they're not going to do it. They're just peachy keen with the way everything's going, So if we don't do it, who's going to? Nobody's going to do this for us.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. CPS, everybody keeps on saying the system's broken. It's broken. It's broken. No, it's not. It's operating exactly the way that they want it to.
Yep.
As a corporation.
Exactly the way they want it to. And until people like us all over the country starts rising up and saying enough is enough and actually freaking doing something about it, it's never going to stop. Look, you look in all these other countries, you look in some of these countries like the European countries and stuff like that, they are revolting. They are literally saying enough is enough. They actually are doing something. You got farmers driving their equipment around town, unloading manure all over government buildings. And where are the Americans doing that? Why are we not doing that? We should be. We should be.
Absolutely. And it astounds me as bullheaded and so many people around in the United States can be. You would think that they would be all about rising up and taking charge and fixing shit. And and for all these people that want to sit around and whine and complain and, oh, the government's shit, all these politicians are shit, and this is shit. And well, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it to hold these people accountable and to stand up and speak out? But you don't want to open your mouth and you don't want to say anything, much less get off your ass and do something. So
I tell people all the time, like I don't judge people by their words. I judge them by their actions. Now, if you talk a good talk, you better be able to walk the walk. And for somebody like me, I will be on the front lines. Like if something gets organized, I will be on the front lines because I'm one of the type of people that believe in this. Okay, it's a couple minutes until I have to go. But listen, in the olden days, what did we do with traitors? What did we do with treasonous people who violated their oath of office and corruption and treason? And what did we do with all those people?
String them up.
We used to string them up in public.
Hey, they put Cash Jackson in jail for that statement.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was.
Freedom of speech. My bad.
I'm all for going back into the olden days. If you're a judge and you're violating people's rights on a daily basis and you're violating your oath of office and you're knowingly and willingly trafficking children, I have no problem with going into the back, in the olden days and removing you physically from that courthouse.
So Dallas, people are going to wonder because obviously I've been using your email address for a reason everywhere because they're going to want you to touch on that just for a second because they're going to see it underneath you.
Oh, the investigation?
Yep.
Yeah, so that video that I put together, this is absolutely true. A couple of people are questioning it because I can't really tell you how big the investigation is because it's It's big. It's big, guys.
It's going down.
I value honesty. I value confidentiality. I value people of their word. Okay, and this whole entire time that I've been advocating, I pride myself on telling you guys the facts, what's true. There's never going to be a day where I come and make a video where I'm spitting something out that's not factual or true. My job is on the line, my reputation is on the line, and what I do to help people and families and children is on the line. My oath is never going to be to the state. My oath is never going to be making money or anything. My oath is to the children, and that's it. It always has been, and it always will be. So when I tell you guys that there is a massive investigation going on inside of CPS cases that are specifically involved in multiple state jurisdictional issues, which means like if you, and you might even have these issues in your case and you don't even know it because they're putting these initials into your case. And if you don't read your case thoroughly, you might miss it. If you have a case that says something to the effect of ICPC, or you're dealing with multiple state issues, say you're in Georgia and you're dealing with Florida or whatever, right? There's an email going across your guys' screen right now. Email us your case. Don't send me an email and type out a big long paragraph and novel of what's going on in your case. Send me your case file. Send me your paperwork, because I guarantee you, we already have over 300 cases that have been emailed to us that we've transferred over into this investigation team. And trust me, it is at the highest level that you can possibly imagine.
And if
Short of reaching the president, it is massive, guys.
Yeah.
And if you want your case being investigated, email us your paperwork at that email address down on the bottom of your screen.
Amber, anyways, if I wasn't 100% behind Dallas on this, and if I didn't trust him, I wouldn't be helping him. So yes, I'm using his email address, but I got permission to.
I second that because I like Dallas. And in fact, my sister said, "Oh my God, Tiffany, you gotta watch this guy. He's great. He's just like you." I said, "Okay, calm down. I'll watch him." And then a couple months later, you and I spoke, right? You remember me telling you that story?
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh my God, I just love him." So we made her husband, who is the senator, we made him sit down and watch you too, because we're gonna start questioning these people, right? He wants answers why we're not using the GAP money, because they gave him every reason other than why they should, right? So he said, "I'm going to bring him in and I'm going to talk to him." I said, "Great, I will help you because you can zoom in there." So yeah. So yeah, my sister loves you too, and so does Marissa. She watched all your videos.
You may be falling asleep at 2:00 in the morning taking notes.
And I can say that my friend right here next to me, her case has already been emailed to Dallas.
I'm going to look at my
if you guys have already emailed me your file, if you've emailed me or my team your file at that email address, we've already sifted through and gone through over 300 cases since I made that video, and they're still coming in, guys.
And Tori, if you're still on here, you need to email him because I want him to look at your CPO. And I appreciate you coming on, Dallas. I told you I wanted to get you on my show anyway. Remember, I told you that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's today's Sunday. I'm actually tomorrow. I'm driving out to Amarillo to help a family on their case. But it's very rare that I have a day where I have a couple minutes where I can even do something. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy for the invite.
That's
well, thank you. We want you to come back on.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dallas. I know you got to run. So, because I promised you an hour, and we're over.
So it's my pleasure, guys. Again, email going down the bottom of your screen. If you need consultations, my email's there, or my store is down there too. You can set up a consultation. Watch my videos, study my videos. You'd be surprised on how much you will learn just from watching my videos on TikTok. So
thanks, Dallas.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
It's nice to meet you.
Take
Everybody
care.
else stay on.
Girl,
Okay.
I want.
All right. Sorry about that. I thought that was be a good surprise. Danielle, we're back to you.
Before Danielle starts, can I say something?
Yep.
No.
Who said no?
That's just Josh. Quit. Ignore him. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I tried
Fanny
to push him
smack
out of the
him.
shed. He's kind of stubborn.
Fanny smack him. So this is Rika. She's going to be joining our team. She has worked with these institutions. She understands them. She's dealt with them. She's going to do policies and procedures with us. So I wanted everybody to meet one of our newest team members. And with that, Danielle, you got the floor.
Let me
So
pull
you're
her
just
over
gonna
here.
throw me on the spot like that? What are we gonna talk about now?
We're gonna go back
Well,
to the humanity against violence.
I mean,
stuff.
you have me follow Malibu. I mean, how can I
Oh,
compete
please.
with
Girl, please, just go.
Oh, I am starting a new series with my podcasts and such where I'm doing Where's the Proof? I think that a lot of the problems within our communities is that there are just so many people that are, no, that's BS, or there's no way it's that big of an issue, or yeah, I'm sure that happens sometimes. So I'm wondering if maybe like I'm going to start doing some episodes where, because it's really sick to think about, because the government is doing what they're doing. Not only do they do what they do, they put it out there for the whole world to see. The information is out there. All you have to do is look. And so people are too lazy to do that. So I'm going to do it for them. And I'm going to start doing some shows where I, screen share different PDFs and different websites and really break down the statistics. And especially
Cool.
when it comes to CPS, like when it comes to adoptions and all of that, they are legally required to keep very meticulous records about that. And on these reports that they have to file, it tells you exact numbers of children that are taken for physical abuse, for sexual abuse, for neglect, for this, for that, exactly how many kids come in the system, exactly how many kids go out of the system, how many were investigated. They give you all of that information. And again, you research it and it all leads back to trafficking. Did you know 98% of trafficking survivors had dealings with CPS? 98%.
Yep. Tiffany, watch chat. I'm running to the bathroom.
And so it's just crazy to, see that the numbers are, I mean, again, it's there. You just have to look. And there's so many people that unless it's affecting them, unless they are involved in the system, they have no need, no desire, and no care. But, these are children that we're talking about. These children don't have a voice. They don't have the power and the ability or the knowledge to be able to speak out or to keep themselves safe. And I mean, we, the people, are their only hope. The government sure as hell isn't going to do anything about it. CPS sure as hell ain't going to do nothing about it. They're the ones throwing that in that situation to begin with. So it's up to us, and we have to. I mean, children's lives literally depend on it. And if we can't come together and stand up for children, then shame on us. Shame, because there's just no logical explanation as to why that would be okay.
I think the
I work
biggest
with.
issue
Oh, go ahead, Amber.
is most of these people that were victims as kids, and we talk about this all the time, their kids end up being victims. It's like a never ending cycle. And I think that's the hardest thing too. It's like, I say it all the time. It's like, you might as well put a cow tag on yourself and a number because they're watching you. And I think people need to be aware of that. Is you survive it as a kid and you don't expect your kids to go through it. And so I think education is extremely important in that aspect, because I think it gives people the tools to understand, you know, unless we do all come together from our different aspects that we're good at, you know, our strengths, then this cycle is going to continue. And we really have to band together for that, because you're right, these kids don't have voices, and we are those voices.
We need to normalize talking about these issues. I mean, if when you really break it down and think about it, if as grown ass adults, if we can't sit and communicate with one another that, wow, this is really a bad thing. Wow, this is really scary. Oh, this is really happening. Discuss ways that you can fix it and things, different ideas. If we don't normalize that, and if children see us struggling with communicating about that, how in the hell do we think that's going to make them feel? And the children are the ones that this is affecting. This is hurting them. So we're doing nothing but showing them that, oh, no. If this happens to you, you have to be quiet. Well, fuck that. Do you really want to teach your children to not have a spine and not have a backbone and not stand up and speak out if somebody is causing them harm? I mean, we got to really start thinking about that as a community and as a society, because staying silent is destroying lives. It has to be normalized to be able to speak about things like this freely and truthfully. There's just no other way around it.
I had a judge one time. Now, I get real disrespectful in court, okay?
No.
Because I don't play that because you wear a black robe, you're better than me shit. I do not play that, okay? You put your pants on the same way I do. Anyway, she said, I don't like the way you talk to your children, Miss Wise, because I was telling them the truth, right? Because I never lie to my kids. She's like, anyway, this is what I ended up telling her. I said, when you die and become God, then you can judge me. I don't care if you wear a black robe. You are nothing but a human being just like me. She got pissed. She hated me, but I don't care. So I get it. And we do need to teach our kids to speak up, right? Because who is going to protect them? Us. My grandson, he's 5. He came to me one day, right? Because I did not know that he understood what I was doing. And he said, yeah, you was a hero. I said, I'm not a hero. He said, yes, you are. Yeah. So I started questioning him, right? Why do you think I'm a hero? He said, yeah, because you help other people. That's how you're a hero. I said, well, my God, he really does know what I do. And that just stole my heart.
Kids understand a lot more than what we give them credit for. And and I had that issue, and issues directly related to that in court, where my ex had, he was very violently beat and raped me for 6 years, held us against our will, would not let us leave. By the time I finally was able to get safe and escape, we fled from the state of New Hampshire to Ohio, where my family is. And, Jasmine was only about, it was days before her 4th birthday. So she was really young, but she still very vividly remembers a lot of things. I mean, it was a very traumatic experience. Like every day of our lives was an absolute nightmare. And, kids remember traumatic stuff like that. And so we're going through the court process, and she's a kid, she's, by that time she was 7. They realize what's happening. They feel the tension, and they have their own memories. And, these courts put you in a situation to where they're like, okay, now make sure you're not saying anything to your children about this. Or, you know, when Jasmine would overhear different conversations that I had, because kids are nosy as hell. It didn't matter where I went on my property, she would find a way to hunt me down to try to eavesdrop the best she could, you know? And it's like they overhear things, and well, then you're held liable and you're shamed in court for how dare you not keep this a secret from your child? How dare you not tell your child how wonderful and spectacular her father is, to encourage that loving bond and relationships. My child says that he sexually abused her. Why would I say that to her? Why am I going to lie to her and make her feel that, you know, somebody is safe if they're not? But, you know, they put you in a position to where you have no choice, or they're going to shame you. And then you have to worry about having your child removed or having, you know, custody switched to somebody who's not safe. And, you know, the whole thing is just a shit show all the way around from beginning to end.
I want to address Kenneth real quick. This is the thing. Until people understand all men are created equal and they really believe that, you will never be able to stand up to a judge. I've threatened to sue a judge. I told a judge I will see them in federal court and had my whole decision overturned because they're not judges. They are administrative judges. These are not court orders. I know it. They know it. The minute you say federal court, everything is going to change because they're an Article 1 judge being judged by an Article 3 judge. So until people understand all men, and I say women too, we are all created equal. I even told my prosecutor, from a judge to a bum in the street, we all have the same rights. The Declaration of Independence does not say because a judge has a law degree and a college degree that they are better than anybody else. We are all created equal. And until you get that in your mind, you will always have anxiety. I still get anxiety because I already know I'm about to be off the chain up in here. And I take somebody to court with me because I give them my keys, I give them my phone, I give them my codes to get into my phone because I'm prepared to go to jail that day. I really am. That you have to be prepared. Carissa's laughing, but she knows it's true.
Retaliation is very real. It is very real. And, you know, I've had, you know, a few people ask me, aren't you worried about what they're, and I'm like, you know, if they really want to FAFO, then that's on them. But, you know, I was born and raised in this town. I left for, you know, half my life, but I'm back now. And I was born and raised here. And I was a mouthy little bitch then too. And, you know, some things don't change. Yes.
And I was in a domestic violence situation too, right? And what the courts, they know though, but they choose to ignore it. We cannot keep victimizing women that are abused by taking their kids because the kid is already traumatized. The mom is traumatized, right? So then they call CPS in and hit you with abuse and neglect because you didn't leave soon enough. But CPS or social services isn't going to help you get out. They're not going to help you find a place. They're not going to pay the first month's rent. They're not going to get you a job. They're not going to do anything, but they continue to traumatize the family by taking the child. And then they come back with, the child is doing great in foster care. The child is excelling because she's laughing because she knows it's the truth, right?
You know, it's
She just
actually
has
very
things like that.
illegal. Congress actually had approached this issue, you know, and in the 70s, I believe. I'll have to look it up. It's in my whole thing that I'm doing with my first series where I dive into these statistics and such. But Congress looked into it because it was brought to their attention just how much damage CPS is doing. And that was when they, you know, started getting a lot more strict with the law that a child can only be removed if their life is in imminent danger. And they have to prove that it's imminent danger. However, the government's own statistics say over 40% of all children removed are for neglect. That's not imminent danger. That's not abuse. And
it's
Congress
unsubstantiated neglect.
Okay,
well,
so you know what really needs to happen, Danielle? You know what really go ahead.
They went on further to point out that if it is a case where the child isn't being properly cared for, it is CPS's responsibility to help them find and receive every single resource that's available to get them into a better situation to where that child can stay with them, because the ultimate goal is always to be to keep that child with their parent if at all possible. And they don't even almost follow that.
Well, here's the thing. In the state of Virginia, we fall 51st in the nation on reunification. 60% of children in Virginia are adopted out, okay? Which means 40% get to come home. I've told these people, this abuse and neglect law needs to be narrowed down. What is abuse? Okay, we know what abuse is, but what is neglect? Because I didn't take my kids to McDonald's, they go to school because they're mad at me and say, oh, I didn't get my way. So now your CPS is at the door, right? So they need to narrow this abuse and neglect down, right? The Supreme Court of the United States has already said abuse and neglect, like you said, abuse is imminent danger, life or limb. They've already said it. But the Supreme Court has yet to rule on what neglect is.
Yes, and it's left way, and neglect is also left to the investigator's discretion as well. So it doesn't matter, what the neglect is. They can, oh, your house is too messy. That's neglectful. No, sorry, you cannot remove children for stupid shit like that. But they do, and they get away with it all the time.
So
it
Danielle,
comes back to accountability. Go ahead, Spanny.
What state are you in again?
I'm in Ohio.
That makes sense. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's I lived in Tennessee in Nashville for a really long time, and I really love that city. So yeah, being back here isn't the most exciting thing, but my family is all here, so I do love and appreciate that.
Yeah, we need to speak about a project that Tiffany and I are getting into here off camera soon.
Okay, well, I want everybody to go to her website and follow her or whatever, because I'm joining. Just know as soon as we get off, I will be joining. And we can end the show, Spanny, whenever you want. Just everybody stay on.
Hold on, I'm putting her address in the comments. HumanityAgainstViolence.com, right? I'm not putting everything. I'm just going to do that because I'm sure everything leads there.
Yes.
All right. We will talk to you guys on Wednesday with another special guest. And that's all I'm saying about that one.